Hey yo, welcome back. Welcome back to Glorious Vibes. Again, excited to have you here again. Today I come at you from the comfort of our home, and super blessed to be able to be here, to be at home, and to record this one from the comfort of my home. And again, different places. Uh, to see and to appreciate. It's a beautiful day out. It's everything is beautiful. Everything is great. It doesn't mean nothing is happening in the world all around, right? It just means that, again, mental sense of being. Appreciate happiness and mentally see happiness, mentally see positivity in everything. Then regardless of what else is going, you just see positivity. You kind of mentally prepared, right? To see happiness, to stop and appreciate and intentionally do that. So, coming at you today, this is part 4 in the series that I started around like sustained happiness, right? How do you sustain happiness, like long-lasting happiness, right? Again, very important before I continue that you subscribe and that you share with family and friends. Again, we want to make sure that we're sharing the goods, we're sharing the vibes, and making sure that, we're just not keeping to ourselves. Again, that's one of the reasons why I'm here. I'm here sharing because I just want to make sure that which is good is shared across. So let's make sure that we do that. Do not forget to subscribe, to like, and to also comment. I'd like to hear from you. So part 4 in this series right now, I'm going to start with a simple question. And the question is, are you happy where you are right now? I'm talking in general, like, in your life, and are you happy where you are right now? And please don't say you're happy because you're satisfied. And those are two different things. You see, satisfaction is part of it, but satisfaction does not equal happiness, right? It is not happiness. Being satisfied, if you look in a dictionary, being satisfied, satisfaction is an act of fulfilling a need, right? A desire, an appetite, a feeling gained from such fulfillment, right? That's satisfaction. Happiness is different. You see, in happiness is a state of being. It's a mindset, right? And satisfaction has to do with fulfilling something, right? A need, something that's there. So because you are fulfilling a certain need doesn't necessarily equal happiness, doesn't necessarily mean you are happy. I don't know if I give an example of somebody who seemingly has everything. They have a nice house, they have a nice car, they have a good business, they make a lot of money. And in the end, they still are not happy, right? And that's a friend who inside of them, they just feel a sense of like, there's an emptiness. And whenever I have conversations with them, or whenever they swing by, they always ask me like, how come you're always happy? And yet you tell me that, you wish you could do this, or you wish you could do that, but right now the means do not allow you to do that. You wish you could have your own business, right? Right now the means don't allow you, but I have all of that, and yet I do not have your sense of positivity, your, always kind of happy demeanor. And to me, that's really telling that it is not fulfilling a certain need. It's not owning thing. It's not certain position. It's a state of being, and that's really important. And so when I'm asking you, are you happy where you are right now? Whether that's at work, in family, with friends, the people that you hang out with, please do not go toward, don't let your mind, go toward that place of satisfaction. Don't think about the things that you have, the things that you own, because that does not equal happiness. Because you are satisfied in a certain place does not equal happiness. It means it's satisfaction. And that's the difference, when I talk about, sustained, long-lasting happiness versus temporary satisfaction, temporary happiness. Where you get something like, when somebody uses drugs for example, right? It is temporary. Like temporarily, they feel a sense of satisfaction, but that's not happiness, right? It is not. It is a momentary satisfaction. They have fulfilled something that does not necessarily equate happiness. So it's important when you ask yourself a question of like, are you happy where you are right now? Is that happiness sustained? Is that happiness momentary? Is that happiness long lasting? This is where I encourage you to do inventory of yourself, to do inventory of your happiness. You see, and that's what I was talking about. Like, there's some things in life where we just unintentionally not paying attention to, unintentionally disregard, which are really important to our well-being. And long-lasting, sustained happiness is one of those. Like, when is the last time you actually stopped and do an inventory of your own happiness? In your workplace, for example. I mean, are you happy where you are right now? I'm not talking about a paycheck. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about all these other things. I'm talking about just your own happiness. Are you happy right now? Have you stopped and done inventory? Have you stopped and asked yourself a question? Because you see, what happens is, having a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a friend of mine who works for Microsoft, and they happen to be in management. And we had a conversation, and they told me that they basically have taken 2 weeks off because they weren't feeling satisfied. They were asking themselves questions like, I'm starting to show up in a different way, so I need a vacation. And my conversation with my friend was, I have one question for you. Are you happy where you are? And the answer was, well, it pays better and gives me benefits. I said, yeah, I get all of that. But are you happy though? It pays better. You get all the benefits. You take care of the things you take care of. To me, it sounds like you're not happy, but you're trying to force yourself. You see, you've held your own self a hostage in a place that isn't making you happy. And how often do we do that? I'm staying. You hear about domestic violence. You hear a few years ago, I should say, in one of the communities I lived in, one of my communities, a woman, unfortunately, a mother, was killed by her husband because she stayed in a domestic violence family where she was basically being threatened on a regular basis, and the husband saying, one day I'm gonna kill you. But she stayed, right? And there's some cultural things to that, and there's some also beliefs and things like that. But in the end, he ended up killing her. He used a hammer to just hammer the wife, his own wife, to death, right? She was in a place where she wasn't happy, but she was staying in that space where she wasn't happy to fulfill a certain desire, to fulfill something, because she saw herself as a mother, right? I know all of this because I was part of the case and everything else. And I remember some of the conversations where questions were asked of her, and she said, I'm staying because of my kids. The satisfaction was to be a mother to our kids, which is really important. And at the same time, she completely ignored, it wasn't intentional, but completely disregarded her own safety and well-being. And unfortunately, she ended up paying the price. Well, I wouldn't call it paying the price. For lack of better words, I should say. The community ended up with an unfortunate situation because, a victim of domestic violence, a mother, wanted to fulfill the needs of being a mother at the expense of her own safety and also happiness. Point of bringing this up is, are you happy where you are? And in some smaller and bigger ways, we tend to kind of hold ourselves hostage because we're trying to fulfill a certain need, right? At the expense of our own happiness. And more often, we don't even pay attention to that. I'll give you another example of that. I worked in a place where I was trying to fulfill something, but really I wasn't happy. And I think I'd say that in my last video, right? I wasn't happy. It wasn't until the day I asked myself a question, a day my wife asked me, are you happy where you are right now? That just, something just clicked. And I thought, wow, that's a really good question. All my needs are being fulfilled, and I see this as really high paying and important, and yet I'm not happy. I'm not happy in this place. And what happened is I ended up leaving. See, nobody asked me to leave. Everybody wanted me to be there except, a few people want part of my happiness. But I realized that in some ways I was showing up in a way that was negative. And this is the same conversation I had with my friend at Microsoft that say, you become a reflection of what's inside of you, and that gets reflected on your own stuff, especially if you're in management. Because you are showing up in a place where you're not happy, but you're just going. You're just going. And what you start to see is everything does not look right. As you start complaining because things are looking really bad. Things aren't right in here, and everything just looks bad. Why? Because you are not happy where you are. It doesn't mean that things don't look bad because they look bad and there's other things contributing factors. But there are times where when you start to do your own inventory, you start to realize, oh my goodness, the way that I've been showing up has not been helpful. And why is that? And then when you look and dig deeper, you realize that, okay, I've been staying here to fulfill a need. But internally and everything about me is not really happy. But you have to be intentional to stop and to look at the place, at the space, at the environment, and ask yourself the question, am I really happy right now in this space? And so I'm going to say this, if that space is not making you happy, if you look at your happiness scale, again, it takes some inventory, and you realize the place is not making you happy, you may want to have to think twice and prioritize your own happiness. Because again, often we look at the others and don't look at ourselves and say, how am I showing up, me personally, that's actually contributing to this space what it is. So when I ask you a question, are you happy where you are? Do not go to being satisfied, because those are two different things. The question is, are you happy where you are? And if you're not happy, what are you going to do about it? Now, if you want to be miserable, absolutely, by all means, stay. But you will start to see things just fall apart right and left. Not always in your right frame of mind. Why? Because you're not happy. It's important that you are happy in a place where you are. So again, I'm going to leave you with that. That your happiness is a habit. It's not an accident. It's not a need that needs to be satisfied. It's a state of being. It has to be constant, long lasting. If you want to sustain that, there's a lot of things that would contribute to that. And a place of happiness, of your choosing is one of those things where you get to make a decision and you get to do an inventory and to decide whether or not you are satisfied where you are right now. I'm talking about a place specifically. So I'm going to leave you with that. Catch me on my next video. And I thank you for tuning in and for participating and also for contributing. Again, please do not forget to subscribe and do not forget to share with friends and family. I appreciate you from the comfort of my home. I am really grateful and blessed to be here to be sharing with you. Until next time, happiness is a habit. Make sure you're cultivating it. All right. Talk to you later. Ciao.